Well, hi there, Mouseketeers, and welcome to the Disneyland Beat, where our toes tap to a Disneyland drum.
And we always whistle while we work.
Well, there's quite a bit you can do at DCA right now, but there are always rules to follow.
At any other time, Walt Disney's original Magic Kingdom also has some rules to follow when in the realm, and at Disneyland there are several things that can get you banned.
Join us as we take a trip into the parks today to explore 11 things that could get you kicked out again.
Like, subscribe, and stick around.
Our first one is somewhat well known, but it wouldn't be a rule unless people actually did it. Bringing the ashes of deceased family members or pets into the parks to spread is banned behavior.
But by unofficial reports, this has happened at every ride at every park. Dumping ashes at the Haunted Mansion has happened so many times, it has its own code that gets called when it's discovered.
It's not a good idea, though. Most likely you won't get away with it, and if you do, the Disneyland employees end up having to deal with the ashes, and they're usually going to end up in the Disney dustbin.
Not to mention, it's actually illegal to spread human ashes in public places, though there is no known health risk from doing so.
Some people fall so in love with different places at Disneyland that they become the happiest memories that they have, and the place they want to spend forever. And we can understand that.
The second item that is so innocuous you might not even think about it is gum. You will find that there is nowhere to purchase gum in any Disney park.
When Walt Disney was building Disneyland, one of the main reasons that people doubted his park would be successful is because of the poor reputations that amusement parks had at the time.
In America before Disneyland, many amusement parks were considered dirty and unsafe. The owners and workers were considered the proprietors of rigged carnival games, and the locations themselves were thought to be full of pickpockets and people with loose morals. So many could not understand why a children's cartoon company would want to get involved in the amusement park business.
Chewing gum was incredibly popular, and at the time, just sticking your gum under or onto the nearest table or surface was the normal thing to do.
So, because he didn't want gum under every bench and in every crevice of the park, Walt simply banned it from being sold in the park, and that has stuck to this day.
Something else you can't do is bring political signs into the parks. Over the years, Disney has tried to keep politics out of the parks. Disney doesn't want to take sides. Disney wants everybody to feel welcome and included.
But sometimes people bring in signs in an attempt to get some publicity, knowing it will make the park news circuit and likely get picked up by major news as well. The Mark Twain has been sign-bombed several times before, but usually the signs are brought down within moments and the guests are escorted from the parks.
One event of note that probably instigated the creation of some of these apolitical rules was when a group called the Youth International Party, or the Yippies, more or less took over Tom Sawyer's Island and eventually the entire park for a day, forcing its closure.
It happened on August 6, 1970, and their demands included free admission, the liberation of Minnie Mouse, a wage hike for Frontierland's Native American dancers, and the conversion of the restaurant Aunt Jemima's Kitchen into a Black Panthers-themed breakfast restaurant. Pretty awesome demands.
There is a long list of personal items that have been banned from the park over the years. Glass bottles are banned as they can break, and while you can bring in food, soft-sided coolers and the like, you cannot bring in ice, and especially dry ice. Dry ice was recently used in the parks once to create a loud noise explosion with a plastic soda bottle and a trash can, so I'm just fine with that being banned. But we don't quite understand why regular ice had to go along with it.
Another recent addition to the list is a selfie stick, as they are hazardous to use on a ride and they block other people's views.
You also can't bring in your own folding chairs, hard-sided coolers, wagons, or alcohol, and with the exception of service animals, pets are not allowed through those turnstiles.
So it's not that big of a surprise that you can't set up shop inside Disneyland. Who wouldn't love to take advantage of a consistently huge crowd who all have spending money on their minds? But curiously, Disney doesn't allow that.
The only time I see this rule coming close to getting bent, at least inside the parks and not on eBay, is with pin trading. Pin trading is encouraged by Disney as they sell all the official pins.
And there's no doubt, pin trading is very popular. Trading is always allowed and you can engage in it with cast members, but it is illegal to sell items. So that's why the conversation can get a little awkward with some of the regular traders, often hanging out in Frontierland when you offer to make a trade.
This is an interesting topic. As an adult, you cannot wear a costume to Disneyland, and they regularly, occasionally, remove guests for doing so.
If you're a Harry Potter fan, you can join a house, buy a robe and wand, and get trained on how to use it, all the while being fully immersed in your character at Hogsmeade inside Universal Studios Hollywood.
But at Galaxy's Edge, you can't dress as a Jedi, nor interact with the Disney characters as one of them. Well, we get it. Disney doesn't want any confusion between its cast members and the guests, so nobody over 13 can wear a costume.
If you are under 14, be sure to take a look at the specific rules on banned weapons, masks, and pointy bits on your costume before you head into the parks.
Now, adults can do something called bounding, where you dress in an homage to a character without it being a full costume, and this is becoming really popular, more elaborate. It's something pretty awesome for everybody, and it's totally within the Disney rules and even encouraged.
There is no running in the parks, and prior to the pandemic, it was pretty unlikely that you could run inside a park. At most places in Disneyland on a fairly crowded day, you're lucky if you can keep moving forward at a steady pace.
At rope drop in the morning when the park opens, the adults are really far worse than the kids at running to their favorite Disneyland attraction and disguising it as really energetic fast walks. It's pretty funny to watch from the lead of the pack.
If you are a runner and you stay at one of the Disneyland Resort hotels, there is usually a park run you can participate in early before the parks open.
Smoking and vaping at the parks has been completely banned.
When the park opened, you could buy tobacco at the tobacconist on Main Street who advertised blends and pipes from around the world. It's located where the 20th Century Music Store is today.
Smoking at the park and all Disney parks was allowed up until 1999, and you could puff as much as you wanted as you walked around the park.
In 1999, Disneyland stopped selling cigarettes at the parks and 3 designated smoking areas were created.
In 2001, when the Grand Californian opened, it was the first Disneyland hotel to be 100% completely smoke-free. But it was some time until smoking was completely banned from the parks in 2019.
Disneyland has a dress code. Outside of not being able to wear a costume, there are some things you have to wear.
You have to keep your shirt on. You're not allowed to change down to your skivvies while at the park, even if you're just getting off of Grizzly River Run, so go find a restroom.
You cannot wear clothing that drags on the ground or is torn to the point of being hazardous while riding attractions.
And at no time are you allowed to wander around in your bare feet. Safety, folks. Although, I have to say, Tom Sawyer's Island, running around sunning your toes would be very nice.
So, in general, there are lots of ways to get kicked out of Disneyland by being offensive.
Even though Disneyland has been designed for adults as much as children, it's still a family environment, and you have to keep things appropriate for everybody.
Clothing and even tattoos with offensive language and images on it are banned from the park. You can't wear clothing that is so revealing as to be considered inappropriate, though what the metric for that really is, I don't really know.
You can't be offensive to cast members, which I would never understand why anyone would be. And you can't go around the park yelling, cursing, or getting in loud fights with your group.
While this does not apply to vloggers like us, you can't set up professional or amateur film production inside Disneyland without permission.
This might happen more often than you think. Several people have been thrown out of the park for shooting commercials or short movies with Disneyland as a backdrop.
However, some have managed to complete filming under the radar. There are several films on YouTube and other distribution networks that were filmed entirely inside the Disney parks without Disney's knowledge, and some really don't show the park in a very good light.
So before you start filming on that next summer hit, you better chat with Disney first.
So that's it for us today. Thanks for joining us.
Well, folks, when the parks open, you would be advised to steer clear of the 11 items on this list, lest you be banned from the kingdom.
Stay safe and have a magical Disney day.
See you real soon, Mouseketeers.
See you real soon.